Like this show and want to make your own? Let me tell you about Anchor. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Now you can even add any song from Spotify directly to your episodes. The possibilities are endless for what you can create, whether it's music analysis, your own radio show, or something the world's never heard before. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Stay spooky. I'm Marnie Vinge, and this is Irioki. Join me and my friends as we explore the darker side of the Sooner State. Okay, so have you ever thought, like, in any given day, like, how many times you might have crossed paths with someone who just killed someone else?
That is not where I thought you were going with that question. I have thought about whether or not I've run into somebody who's murdered somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that.
It's real weird because everyone seems normal for the most part. But yeah, I could have passed by somebody on the way here.
Right.
Just killed somebody or just got done killing somebody.
Or had someone in their trunk.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like on their way to like dispose of it.
It's terrifying.
It is terrifying. Like I got that question in my head because I heard a cop speak at a writers meeting one time, and she was telling about a guy like dropping a body off in Norman. But yeah, it like totally stayed with me. So I'm glad that I'm not the only one that.
No. Think about how many bodies are in lakes and buried in fields.
Yeah.
Where are all these murderers at?
Yeah. I don't know. But we're going to talk about one of them tonight. Good. Yeah. So welcome to Irioki. I'm Marnie Vinge, and I'm here today with Jay Sheldon. Jay is a friend of mine. We go way back, all the way back to 7th grade. And I'll let him introduce himself and tell you what he's been up to. And
oh, yeah. You want like life story? Do you want...
whatever you want to tell.
Okay. Well, I'm currently working in advertising in Oklahoma City. I have my own podcast that Marnie was on.
Yes.
Called Miscellaneous Important Stuff. And it's about miscellaneous stuff.
That's important.
That is important. Yeah.
Yeah.
Made short films for a lot of years. I have a lot of hobbies. I like to talk about murder.
Mm-hmm. Which is what brought you here tonight.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? Do you want to have a conversation about murder?
Yeah.
Do you have a podcast that I could?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
That's exactly how this happened. Okay. So we're going to talk about Roger Dale Stafford, who killed I believe it was 6 people at the Sirloin Stockade on I-240 back in 1978. So here we go. So in June 22nd of 1978, Air Force Sergeant Melvin Lawrence, 38, and his wife, who was also a sergeant, which I thought was kind of a cool detail about her since she was female and it was the 70s, Linda Lawrence, who was 31, along with their son Richard, who was 13, were headed north from San Antonio to attend Melvin Lawrence's mother's funeral. They were passing through Purcell, and they spotted a woman alone sitting in her car with the hood up, and being good Samaritans, they stopped. Like you do.
First mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think today, like, just because of this case, I think that people would be more skeptical about stopping, and also because I think that people have cell phones and you'd think that somebody could call and get their own help.
Yeah.
Kind of
if it's
a thing.
Dark road, middle of the night, I'm sorry, I'm not stopping.
No, I'm not stopping for anybody. Like, it doesn't matter who's standing beside that car.
I'll wish you the best.
Exactly. Like, you're on your own. You're on your own. Yeah.
I'm not that brave.
Right. And so they stopped, and Melvin got out of their car and he went to help. And when he did, Roger and his brother, who were out of sight, approached, and Roger demanded his wallet and he wouldn't give it to him. Roger was upset with him and Roger shot him. That's a direct quote from Verna Stafford. That's what she testified. So they were hiding out of sight. Like, this was this whole thing that was actually Verna's idea, like, was to have her pose as a helpless woman on the side of the highway and then have her husband and his brother, like, come and take the money from the people who were helping them. So I don't know if she thought this would end in murder, but it did. And after that, Linda Lawrence, like, jumped out of the car. She was freaking out. She tried to attack Verna, and Verna fought back. She said, quote, "I caught her on the side of the face and she lost balance, and then Roger shot her too."
What a maniac.
Yeah. So and they then heard a small voice, which turned out to be the Lawrence's 13-year-old son, Richard, in the camper atop the Lawrence's pickup truck, which I don't know what he was doing up there, like if he got scared and he got up in there, but they heard him. And Roger, there was an inmate that ended up testifying against him, or like testifying as I don't know exactly what that would be, but he got some kind of deal out of it for his sentencing. And he said that Roger said it didn't matter if a victim was 2 or 82, I believe. He didn't care. Like, it didn't matter to him. So he actually shot this kid too.
That's great. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Do you think if it was you, or actually, do you think if he gave up his wallet, do you think it would have ended differently?
You know what? I don't know, because I've done a lot of thinking about that because of what ended up happening at the Sirloin Stockade. Like when we'll get into that, like about what the manager said to him and kind of whether or not that like spurred him on.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of feel like this guy like had it in him to kill somebody. Like he seems like a psychopath.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the things he does are very narcissistic, psychopath like. And so I don't know. I think maybe he knew that they were going to kill these people.
Yeah. I thought about that recently. You'll see videos of like robberies and stuff like that. And I'm like, I wonder what I would do.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, if it was me,
right, I
would shoot that robber.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up. I don't know. I think I'd probably just be like, yeah, take what you want.
I think I would too, because like it's really easy. It's really easy to like sit here and be like, oh, I'd totally be a hero. Like I would totally like fight back and all that.
Make all the right tactical moves.
Exactly.
like I'd probably be scared.
I think I would be terrified, because like we've talked about, like one of my biggest fears is being somewhere where a gunman comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one time during my last semester at UCO where I was in my forensics class, which was in a huge auditorium that had 2 double doorways that opened up around, like it was, I'm trying to show Jay and you guys can't see this, but like they kind of, these 2 entrances led in to hallways that then turned and went into the auditorium. And so it always freaked me out that those doors were left open during class. It always freaked me out. It was always on my mind. And there was one time during class when this guy who I did not recognize came walking in, and he was acting really weird. Turned out he was just like tech support, and he was just like going to fix like something that had to do with the projector.
In your mind.
Oh, in my mind, he was about to shoot the school up. Like I was like grabbing, like I was grabbing the desk. Like I was ready to die, basically. I was like, this is it. And so I don't know. Like I think when people have that amazing presence of mind in a crisis, it's just incredible. Like, I don't know how that happens.
Yeah.
But it just kind of, I think some kind of like autopilot just takes over, and they just like do it 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, this is what I've got to do to get out of this to survive. So.
Yeah. Can that be learned? Maybe I need to learn that.
Man, I think I need to learn that too. That would be a good skill to have. I wonder if I
learned that in Boy Scouts.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be something I could put on my LinkedIn profile. Like I know
does well in like disaster situations.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Which I have been told that I'm good in a crisis, but it's not something that I like to practice.
No, like how do you even learn that? You
right.
I mean, a lot of crises.
I think so.
Crises.
I think so. I think that's how I learned it. Lots of crises. Okay, so after they killed this family, they dumped the bodies of the 2 adults in a field just beside the road. And then they drove Richard's body a little ways up the road before dumping him in a similar fashion, which I thought was kind of weird. Like, it made it somehow better, or they didn't want the kid connected to it. Like, it's just this weird logic that Roger Dale Stafford had going on. It's kind of strange.
Yeah, but it seems like he probably had some in his mind.
Right. Like, this made logical sense somehow. Yeah. And then so Harold and Roger followed Verna in Melvin Lawrence's pickup truck. They took his pickup truck. They followed her to Will Rogers Airport. They left the truck there, but before they did that, they stopped and had a bite to eat.
Of course.
Like, and I love the article that was talking about this because it said they stopped and had a bite to eat. Like,
sounds so casual.
It does. It definitely does not sound like something you would do right after a murder, but like, this guy is a cold-blooded killer.
Did it say what they ate?
Did not say what they ate.
Huh. I'm just curious. I wonder, like, if it would match up with what I have in my head.
Right.
I'm thinking like steak, burgers, maybe.
Yeah, that's like a little like greasy spoon diner type.
Yeah.
Place.
I don't see him as like organic, vegan.
No.
Having a salad.
Right.
With a water.
You got it. That's not a post-murder meal.
No.
Yeah.
Need some meat.
Yeah, exactly. So like I said before, Verna said it was her idea to put on the stranded motorist ploy. And the reason that they did that was because they needed money to pay their rent in Tulsa, while Harold, Roger's brother, needed some cash to pay for a girlfriend's abortion. So this event took place right before the Sirloin Stockade murders, which the Sirloin Stockade was located on I-240 in Penn, where do you know where Joe's Crab Shack and Starbucks are right there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's where this was, which is where I worked my first semester of college, was at that Starbucks. And I am very glad that I did not know that was that location, which I don't know how I didn't know it, because my aunt kind of has this weird connection to the Sirloin Stockade situation. The night that it happened, which was July 16th, 1978, she was with a friend at the movies. They'd gone to church and then they'd gone to eat somewhere up in Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. And then they were going to go, they went to the movies. And after that, they were going to see what one of her friends was doing, which was Terry Horst, who is one of the victims. And for whatever reason, my aunt said that she just they drove by Sirloin Stockade right around 10 o'clock and she was just like, you know what? Let's not bother with it. Let's just go home.
Wow.
And yeah. So it was, wild. Like,
yeah. 'Cause is that just coincidence?
Right.
Is that meant to happen? Like,
yeah, what? It's really weird. And like, and I always like hesitate on the whole like meant to happen thing, because I always feel like it's like when people say like everything happens for a reason. I'm like, well, really? Everything?
I know, I hate that too.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we have choices and we are.
Exactly. And it's like, so you're saying that like this bad stuff like happened for a reason? Like, what was the reason? Like, I'm a bad person?
We don't know yet, but we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. So some kind of weird intuition or like something came over her and she was like, you know what? Let's just go home. And so they did. But the Sirloin Stockade, which it was a restaurant. It was like an all-you-can-eat buffet type restaurant, which my mom has described it to me kind of like Western Sizzlin'.
Oh, okay. Which is also over in that area, isn't it?
It's I think it is. I think it is. Yeah, because I remember one time my mom said something about Sirloin Stockade when we were up there, and I was like, Western Sizzlin'? She's like, no, it was kind of like that, but people got murdered there. So I was like, okay. But yeah, so let's see, where are we at? Okay, so the Staffords decided that they would again commit robbery, and this was July of 1978. They'd gotten away with what they had done to the Lawrence family, and for whatever reason, they were in Tulsa, but they chose the Sirloin Stockade on 74th in Oklahoma City, which is what 240 used to be known as. They drove from Tulsa and waited in the parking lot, and they watched the customers empty out of the building. At 10 p.m., the two men went to the side door. The manager answered, and they held him at gunpoint, demanding to be taken to the cash register and the office safe. And then this is the part that I was talking about earlier. The manager did something then that potentially shaped the way events unfolded. He taunted the Staffords. He asked them why people rob others instead of working for their own money. And angered, Roger demanded that he call his employees to the cash register. And this is where it goes from just being a robbery at gunpoint to, I think, that something flipped in his mind and he was like, okay, like, you're all gonna die now.
Yeah.
Like, I really think that he made a choice right then.
You pushed me over the edge.
Yeah. Don't disrespect me like that. Like, which is totally a, like, psycho kind of narcissistic thought.
Yeah.
Like, it's very, wow. I mean, like, I don't like being disrespected, but I wouldn't kill somebody over it. But then again, I wouldn't rob someone.
It's funny because also the manager and every employee is really being disrespected by you coming into their business.
Yeah, with a gun, demanding their money. Like,
that's really disrespectful.
Right, exactly. There's always like this weird disconnect with people who do these kind of things. Like, and there's this weird logic that kind of follows
They don't see their own wrongdoing. It's just, you people.
There's a code. Like, it's like when they say, like, honor among thieves kind of a thing. But yeah, so while Harold and Verna held them at gunpoint, Roger got the manager to empty about $1,300 from the safe. It was $1,290. He then ordered everyone into the freezer. Verna would later testify that Harold reminded Roger then that no one needed to get hurt. But Roger replied, they'll get what they deserve.
Man.
Yeah. He then shot the janitor, who was Isaac Freeman. And then both of the men, Harold and Roger, opened fire on the rest of them. Then before it was over, Roger handed the gun to Verna and told her that it was time for her to take part. He wanted her to get her hands dirty too. He didn't want her to be able to say, I didn't want any part of this. Like, I didn't think people were going to die. That kind of thing. And he helped her pull the trigger. In all, 6 people died. Isaac Freeman, the manager, Louis Zacharias, and 4 teenage employees. David Salzman, Anthony Tu, David Lindsay, and my aunt's friend, Terry Horst.
Wow.
Yeah. So this, I mean, if you can imagine, like, imagine something like that happening when we were in high school. Like, at Western Sizzlin' and more. Like,
I lost my mind.
Yeah. That, and especially, like, this is at a time when, like, Columbine had not happened. And the,
that's right.
Like, Columbine had not happened. The movie theater shooting had not happened. That was not something that was in the news all the time and happening all the time. And
well, I just remember when Columbine happened. That was like, well, like, how is this possible?
Right. Yeah, it was
like something you considered when going to school.
Mm-hmm. I can remember it was the first time that I realized I wasn't safe at school.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very, like, it was a weird feeling. It was kind of like 9/11 where I realized that I was not safe in my country was how I felt. Like,
in life, really.
Yeah. Like, anywhere you go, like, you're not safe at the airport. You're not safe on an airplane.
Yeah.
Like,
stay home.
It was kind of like this feeling. Yeah, exactly. It was which is where my agoraphobia developed from. Not really, but yeah. So I can't even imagine being.
Well, like, living there and hearing about it, I'm sure it must have been, or if you had eaten there and that was a normal place for you,
right?
Like, the idea of people dying in there.
Yeah, it's very, very strange.
But in defense of that manager, I think, haven't we all had days where you're like, if anybody messes with me today, I am not gonna take it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Maybe he was just having one of those days.
He just had it up to here.
Yeah, he'd just been there all day, right? Like,
yeah,
at the restaurant.
Right. He's getting ready to close. He's getting ready to go home to his family.
Yeah.
And then this jerk shows up and is like, give me all your money. Like, I can see how somebody would have an attitude. I've
imagined that exact scenario.
Really?
I thought, what if somebody tried to rob me right now when I'm having a really bad day? I think I'm not going to allow it.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, maybe that's how those people who are in those, like, high stress situations that end up doing all the right things, like, maybe they're having a terrible day.
Like, not today.
Not today. Like, they just go into autopilot and they're like, you know what? I don't care. Like, this might be it. but not today.
But I am that done with this day.
Yeah.
I'm willing to risk everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think I could totally, like, I get why he would be, like, pissed off that these guys were doing that. And I think that's also probably, like, going back to it being that time period, I don't think he thought in his wildest dreams that guy was actually going to shoot anyone.
No. And I think there are a lot of people who rob and, like, threaten to kill or hurt. And they're like, well, you're not really going to.
Right.
But you don't ever know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think today we're much more cautious about those kind of situations because people are crazy.
Yeah, that's very true.
They're insane. And so we're very, like I remember when I worked at the bank, there was this one customer that was a regular, and when I very first started, I had just gone through robbery training. And
never heard of robbery training.
Yeah, I had just gone through robbery training, which I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I remember that you push the panic button and just kind of like try to do whatever they tell you and don't be a hero, basically, is like what they were saying, because there was an event, and I can't remember if it happened at the bank that I worked at, not like the actual branch, but like that company in Tulsa, where a pregnant woman was shot because she couldn't open the vault because there's like a timer on it and you can't get into it. Like you can only get into it during certain time windows, and the robber did not believe her and so shot her and killed her.
They probably do that to save lives.
Right, exactly. Right? Which is the weird part about it. And I had just gone through this whole thing, like learning all about this. And there was this guy, I did not know he was a regular at the time, but I was up front with one of the other girls and our manager and one of the personal banking representatives. And when he walked in, I didn't notice it at the time, but they all went to the back. And so I'm up there by myself with this guy. He walks in and he comes up to me and he's like, first thing he says to me, he's got sunglasses on and he's got this coat that kind of doesn't match with the weather outside. And the first thing he says is, "Turn that frown upside down, Charlie Brown." And I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like,
sounds like a cool robbery line.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and then he goes, "Give me a piece of paper." Not a deposit slip, not a withdrawal slip, a piece of paper. And I'm like, this is how it happens. Like, I'm like, I am about to be robbed. And he's got his hand in his pocket and he's acting really squirrely. And I say, "Would you like a deposit slip?" And he goes, "No, a piece of paper and a pen." And I'm like, okay, oh my God, this guy's about to rob me. So I'm looking around for like the other employees, and they've all abandoned me. And that sound you hear in the background is Oscar tap dancing, doing his little thing, getting his guest spot on the podcast.
Saying hello.
Yep. So he like gets me to give him this piece of paper, and he starts writing and he hands it to me. It's his social security number. He wanted me to use it to look up his account, but like he couldn't tell me that. And so I'm like, my hand is on the button. Like, I am ready. I'm ready. Like, I'm about to be robbed. I may be murdered. Like, it's going down. And then I find out like afterwards that everybody like left because they think he's a creep. And so they just wanted to leave him with the new girl. And
yeah, this is like prank the new girl.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I'm like, thanks guys. But so I can imagine like if I had a really rough day and I'd been experienced there and somebody came in and was like giving me a hard time and I was just at my breaking point. Yeah, I might get a little mouthy.
Like, yeah, almost where you're like, please mess with me today.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Somebody say something because I'm ready.
Exactly. Yeah, that I could totally see that. So that's just, I can't even imagine that kind of a thing happening. Like, and it happened right here in Oklahoma.
It's scary. It
is scary. So after the crime, there were two witnesses, and one of them was another motorist who Roger Dale Stafford almost hit while fleeing the scene of the crime, because I guess he was driving a little erratically after he just killed 6 people and stacked them up in a freezer. Yeah. So he almost hit this guy, and the guy identified his green station wagon. And then the other one was a boyfriend of one of the victims, who I believe it was actually Terry's boyfriend. And he saw the vehicle before they left, and he was able to give them that tip. And then during the week after the Staffords committed their crime, this is like the biggest piece of karma of this whole case. During the week, like just right after they did this, Harold was killed in a motorcycle accident, which I think is great.
Yeah. Like, well.
Yeah.
Everything works out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Everything happens for a reason, Harold.
Everything. I mean, it was bound to happen eventually.
Exactly. Yeah. So a woman who visited Harold in the funeral home was traced to Arkansas. And when she was questioned, she pointed them towards Chicago, and Verna was arrested. And one of the people, I meant to go into this a little earlier, one of the people, Sergeant Lanny Mitchell, who was the first police officer on the scene, a direct quote about what he saw was, "I opened the freezer door and all I could see was blood and brains. It was totally incomprehensible."
God, that'll mess with you forever.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Like, I don't know how cops see what they see and maintain any amount of normalcy in their everyday lives.
I think you have to be just different. You have to be made for that.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I went to something at the Omniplex. It was like an adult night where there's beer and like people on a panel, and there was one guy, I think he was a forensic investigator or something, and he just had slides of dead bodies, and he's just talking very casually about it, like what a murder looks like versus just natural death, and he seemed to love it.
When I was in that forensics class, we had a profiler come and do a presentation, and that was fascinating because, I mean, he had, like, I am a complete ghoul, and so I not enjoy, but I am fascinated by crime scene photos and things like that, and he had a bunch of that, a bunch of serial killing photos, which had, like, ritualistic elements to them, like, the guy carved things on the people's backs, and like left messages for the press on the people's backs, like carved it. And I mean, he said in that presentation, he was like, you see a side of humanity when you do this job that you can't unsee. Like, he was like, you don't look at people the same anymore.
Because you know what they're capable of.
Right. Yeah. Because you know that, like, there's that darkness in all of us, and this selection of the population has just chosen to act on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I was listening to a podcast on the way home today, and I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, you know, people who have those dark thoughts and dark fantasies, the only thing that separates them from these people is the choice to act on it.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, I think we've all had dark thoughts, and, like, you know, like, just the thought passes through your head, like, I could do that. Like, that, I'm, like, not capable in terms of, like, morally capable, but, like, physically.
Yeah, like, it wouldn't be hard right now. Like, you could kill me right now.
Exactly,
like,
you're
capable.
Exactly. Like, I'm physically capable of that. And it's a weird place that you get into in your head when you start going down that path of, like, what am I capable of? And it's just,
and what's keeping me from doing it?
Exactly. Like, what is keeping me from making these choices?
Mm-hmm. If I acted on every thought I ever had, I'd be in jail. So.
Yeah, exactly. Same. And I think anyone who tells you differently is lying.
They're a liar. They're boring. I don't want to talk to them.
Yeah, exactly. I would way rather talk to people that with that life experience.
Yeah, let's be honest. We've all had real bad thoughts.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a whole thing, like intrusive thoughts, like, you know, so the crime spree was described as the worst in Oklahoma history by an Oklahoma judge. And an Oklahoma Crime Bureau agent, Arthur Linville, called the Lawrence killing, which I don't know if what he had to do with the Sterling Stockade murders, but I think this kind of almost goes hand in hand. He called it a joy killing. And he said they could have gotten more from selling drugs or stealing cars. Linville added that the victims were doing exactly as they were told before the robbers herded them into the freezer and shot them to death. So I think he very much enjoyed this. Like, this was a power move. Like, you disrespected me, I'm going to show you what happens. Mm-hmm. Like, kind of a thing.
Wonder what his childhood was like.
Yeah. I would like to know that. I didn't find a lot about his past or anything like that, but I would like to know that.
There's got to be something there.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's probably much more than what I was able to scratch the surface of.
That would make me feel better.
If he had a bad childhood.
Yeah. Well, if he was like perfect childhood.
Yeah.
He was raised really well.
He just chose this.
And then he's like, I don't know. Let's murder.
Yeah. Let's murder. Okay. So January 2nd, 1979, the police released 3 composite sketches of the suspects. And this is where I think his like psychopathy or narcissism is like on full display, which it's also on full display later, which we'll get into. But he got drunk and he anonymously called the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation and said that he recognized 2 of the composite sketches, Verna and Harold, but not the other. He claimed that he had partied with both of them in Tulsa. So needless to say, they were able to trace him to Chicago. Like they're not complete dummies. Like they were like, oh really? Like you partied with them. You know, you recognize 2 of them, but not the other guy.
Yeah, that's weird.
Okay, and you're in Chicago, which is where we arrested your wife. Like,
You're legit.
Yeah. So March 13th, 1979, he was arrested in the YMCA lobby in Chicago and was transferred back to Oklahoma City the next day, where in August, he was ordered to stand trial for the murders. And in the trial, Verna ended up testifying against Roger, and she divorced him while he was on death row, which, I mean, I don't blame her, but at the same time, like, she's pretty awful herself.
Yeah, like, did that make her feel better?
Right, yeah. She's like, well, this is where I draw the line.
I could never be with a man who's just as bad as me.
Yeah, I could never be with someone on death row. Yeah. Just like free murderers. Yeah. So she ended up being sentenced to 2 life terms for her involvement in the murders. And a judge told her on August 7th, 1989, in a resentencing hearing, there's one of the hottest corners in hell vacant with your name right above it. And he was the one who sentenced her to 2 consecutive life terms.
Wow.
Roger married again twice while waiting to be executed. And
twice?
Yeah. 2. Okay. So like, I do not understand women who want to marry serial killers or spree killers or any kind of killer that's like in prison.
It's like a weird fantasy, right? It's gotta be.
I think it must be. Because like I was on one of those dating apps, and every once in a while you come across a prisoner, because like they've got some homie on the outside that's like hooking them up, or like they're on some kind of pen pal website where they're like pulling their pictures and putting them on these dating.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. It's fascinating, and I would love to talk to someone who like fell in love with a prisoner. Like that would be
truly fell in love.
Truly fell in love. Like. If you are out there and you're listening to this, I am like, send me an email. I would love to hear that story.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, I would love to understand, because I think it's really hard for me to imagine knowing that someone is capable of killing at least 9 people in cold blood, and then just being like, I think I'll marry you. Because there's not any like financial gain that you're getting out of it. Yeah. This person's in prison. They have no assets.
But was he also very charismatic? I mean, it was in a time where you couldn't just look him up on Facebook. So maybe he was able to just say, no, I mean, I'm falsely accused.
Yeah.
You just tell a good story. Right.
Maybe so. I mean, it does seem kind of charismatic that he decided he was going to call and say, I know 2 of those people, but not the other one.
Yeah. Like so much confidence.
Very much confidence. Yeah. And one of the things that he said was... he believed that he would not be executed. He didn't think it would ever happen because he was, quote, too good looking.
And we all know they don't execute good looking prisoners.
That's right. That's right. Good looking, like that good looking guy, the hot felon.
Oh, yes. Which, did we find out what he did?
Yes, he went on to become a model.
That's right. But what was his crime? It wasn't anything. It wasn't murder.
No, it wasn't murder. I think it was drug related, maybe. Or like some kind of petty theft or something.
But his photo went viral.
Yeah, it did. He had those piercing eyes and just like looked better than anybody should look in a mugshot to begin with. Like he was good looking.
He was ready for the mugshot.
He was ready for that mugshot. Like sometimes you see people's mugshots and you're like, you have obviously just had a really rough night and you look like it's been rough, and maybe like every night before that was also rough. But like sometimes you see people that just like look like they've been waiting their entire life for this moment.
Yes.
And they're
he
like,
went out that night hoping to be arrested.
yeah. And you're like, maybe tonight's the night.
Or he took one for a friend. He's like, don't arrest him.
Yeah, exactly.
Arrest me.
It was me. Yeah.
I did it, officer.
Right. So, on October 17th, 1979, Roger Dale Stafford was convicted of murder and was sentenced to death. Later on, March 7th, 1980, he was convicted in the Lawrence killings and sentenced to death again. I believe that he actually got 9 total sentencings or something like that for the 9 people that they know of that died. And he was scheduled to be executed for the Lawrence killings on April 2nd, 1984. 15 hours before the execution, he won a delay from the U.S. Supreme Court. So he got a little bit of extra time. And then finally...
Why would they...
I don't know. I didn't look into that. I should have looked into that. But I don't know why they do that. Like why you get a stay of execution. I don't know exactly what that process...
I feel like it's got to be harder now. Although executions even now, it takes forever.
Well, and also like Oklahoma kind of pumped the brakes like after those 2 guys.
Yeah.
The botched executions.
I have.
Yeah.
Especially as I get older, I think I don't like the idea of execution.
Right.
Because there's so many people falsely convicted.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the older I get, the more I'm like, just if someone's really truly did like something really awful, just let them rot in jail.
Yeah. Do we really get anything out of killing them anyway?
Right. Like let them be miserable. Yeah. Let them live a miserable life knowing that they'll never get out.
To me, that sounds worse.
That sounds way worse.
I would rather die if I was in prison.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, especially if you knew that there was no chance that you were ever getting out, especially if you were young, like, and you'd done something horrible, like you're in your 20s, 30s, and you've got like 40, 50, maybe 60 years ahead of you. Like,
but prison's its own world too. People figure out how to make that work.
That
they
is
have
so
all the
true.
things they want. They live like this cushy life.
Yeah, that is so true. And like, that reminds me of like in the Shawshank Redemption when that one guy gets out of prison and he can't find work and he kills himself, and it's so sad.
He
like
ends up missing that life and his friends and I mean,
and you hear about people all the time who like the recidivism rate, like they commit another crime to go back to prison because that's the only world they know,
and they don't really rehabilitate you to go out into the world.
Oh, there's so many problems with the prison system in the United States. It's like that could be a whole episode of its own.
It could be a whole 8 hours.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it could. So finally, on May 30th, 1995, he gets notification that he will be executed in 30 days. He is advised to make arrangements. So like this really intrigues me because I'm like, I did not know that they like come to you 30 days before you're going to be executed. And they're like, okay, you got 30 days.
Would you rather them come to you day of though? Today's the day.
I don't know. I think that might be worse. I don't know.
Maybe day before?
Maybe like...
No, because you need
time to prepare for that.
So like prepare for the fact that you're going to die.
Yeah, exactly. Like you need... And I like... Because I know that in... I think maybe in like China or somewhere... They don't tell you. They just come get you. Like when it's time. And
anytime you heard footsteps, you think, is this blood day?
Which I almost like kind of feel like if we are going to go all in on the death penalty and these people are that awful. Like, I mean, that's the way to really punish someone. That's is like true. if they every time they hear footsteps, they don't know if it's going to be them.
It's true.
Like, so I can kind of see the logic behind it. But I mean, I guess they were like, okay, you got 30 days, get your affairs in order, which I don't know like what all he would have to get in order. But then so July 1st rolls around and he is executed by the state of Oklahoma by means of lethal injection. And as the chemicals poured into his veins, he said, "Oh God," among his last words were, "Tell the world you are seeing an innocent man murdered. I've got nothing to lose by telling a lie. Someone, somewhere, somehow, please exonerate me." He also said to his wife, "Mickey, I love you. Mickey, you meet me at heaven's gate."
What a weird man.
Yeah. Like, what a jerk to be like saying that he did not do this to the very last moment.
Yeah. Where's the thinking in that?
Right. And like also it indicates that he feels like he did nothing wrong.
That's true.
Like, he doesn't feel any kind of guilt, remorse.
Or maybe he doesn't even have the memory of doing it.
Maybe not.
Block that out.
Maybe he did. So Mickey proclaimed her love for Roger during his execution. She repeatedly told him she loved him during the 8 minutes that it took to end his life. Hallelujah, you are going to meet the Lord today, is what she said as he finally went limp. And this is one of the creepiest things about this case. Less than 2 weeks after Roger's execution, the Assistant Attorney General, Sandy Howard, received in the mail a Sirloin Stockade gift card for the amount of $5. It was from Roger. Inside it read, "Hey, you got away with it. I am murder, and you helped do it." Which that's kind of grammatically incorrect. But then it said, "I am innocent, and you know it." And it was signed Roger Dale Stafford with his inmate number. It came from the Sirloin Stockade in El Reno and had been mailed on July 3rd, 2 days after the execution from the prison in McAllister. So I guess that was the affair he needed to get in order before, like, he died. He needed to have one of his buddies in prison. He was like, "Hey, you got to hook me up. You got to send this to the Assistant Attorney General after I die. Really creep him out." Like, I think that would be a little, like, disconcerting to get a gift card from a serial spree killer type person
that is dead now.
That's dead. Like, it's just like one more little jab to be like, the joke's on you kind of a thing.
Yeah. And it's stuff like that would make me go, I don't need this job.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Oh, I think there are so many jobs that are in, like, the criminal justice system, like from law enforcement to, like, defense attorneys. Like, I don't know how you would do some of those jobs and not just absolutely lose it.
Yeah, I think the new season of Serial is about the court system.
Really?
And I've listened to some of those episodes and thought, I don't know how they could do that every day.
Yeah.
Sounds terrible.
I don't know how you would be a defense attorney who gets, like, assigned to people that you know are, like, cold-blooded killers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you've got to figure out a way to present them fairly and unbiased and, like, be in their corner kind of. And, you know, I think that would be so hard. And
if you're private practice, then
you get to do whatever you want.
Yeah, but if you're a public defender,
yeah, I think that would be really hard. And I would also like to know what would make someone want to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I've actually seen a documentary and I'm trying to think what their answer was. I think they want to help. They want to, like, defend the innocent.
Yeah.
But it's just such a difficult job where there's not enough pay, and I believe most of the cases get settled.
Yeah.
They're pleas. And so you don't really get to do the job that maybe you thought you were signing up for.
Oh, man.
To really defend.
That's a lot of school to go through to find out, like, at the end, this isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah, like, here, take the deal. I got 10 more cases a day. I got to get through this.
Oh, man. It's definitely, like, there are problems. Big problems.
Yeah, so just don't get in trouble.
Yeah, just don't act on those dark thoughts that you got, people. Just be good. Behave yourselves. Be good. Like, yeah. So that's about it for Roger Dale Stafford. He was a monster.
Man.
And I feel like that case kind of changed Oklahoma in a way. I mean, it was probably the first time, it really was the first time that anything like that ever happened here. And
yeah, it's like, if it's the same as if you live in this small town, this Pleasantville type town, something like that happens. Like, how can you ever be the same?
Yeah, you can't. So yeah, that's about it. Do you have anything you want to plug, like your Instagram for the podcast or anything like that?
The Instagram is just Miscellaneous Important Stuff. The podcast is also Miscellaneous Important Stuff, and you can listen to it anywhere that podcasts are played or streamed.
Yes. Awesome. Well, okay, so you guys subscribe, follow us on Instagram at EerieOkie, or on Facebook at EerieOkie. And if you have any let's see, what did we ask for an email about? What was that?
Your own story or a story you know of, like eerie,
crazy
stories.
Anything like that. And there was something specific in this episode. Whatever it was, you just listen to it so you know, and I don't because I have a bad memory. But email us at eerieokiepodcast@gmail.com. So that's it for this episode. See you later.
Bye.